Adam, what's going on, buddy? It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Not much, man. Yeah, it has been. It's been probably 15
I
years or
would
something.
think at least that,
Yeah.
yeah, probably back to my Fox time. And certainly, you guys were right at the cusp. The last I really kind of chewed the fat with any of you boys. I do remember having a great
Yeah,
time hanging
yeah.
with you, though, for sure.
Yeah, totally. I remember coming by Fox a couple
Yeah.
times. Yeah, I don't really know what you've been up to, so this will be kind of a fun little catch up overall. I guess,
Podcasting and
yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Living life.
And how cool to see like Armchair Cynics back in my feed, though. Like, it's so awesome to see that.
I know it is interesting, reminiscing and going back over, something that's like 20 years ago. And like, I almost feel like I was a different person then, it's like, it's not a thing you do very often in your life where you kind of rehash something that was like such a part of your identity, for so long. And then it's like, I just don't really identify with that person anymore. All of a sudden we're playing these songs again. And,
Yeah.
All this stuff is happening. So
It's awesome.
That must be a strange feeling, kind of like dipping back into something that you did so long ago, and to you it feels like forever and another lifetime ago, right?
Totally.
How does that go with all the other guys and reconnecting or that kind of thing?
Yeah, it's been interesting. Are we actually like live? Are we rolling now?
We are. Yeah.
Are we
Yeah.
going?
Well,
Okay. So we're just
We don't
straight in.
ease you in. We don't ease you in here.
Pushed in the deep end. And like,
Yeah, I
is
mean,
it gonna sink?
it's an interesting thing too, because like being in kind of, I mean, a band is like a relationship, and having all of our personalities and our things that clash and whatever over that period of time. Now that all this time has passed, like any little tension or whatever is just kind of dissipated, and I feel like there's a lot more love going around.
Mhm.
When it comes to rehearsing and working on music
Right.
together, it's more appreciation for each other, and I think that's just part of it, is just getting a bit older and just learning to be a better human being overall.
Yeah, which is probably not that tough to do, considering you got to be a better person than somebody in your 20s. I was a complete asshole
Yeah.
in my 20s.
Yeah. Who
Yeah,
wasn't?
you'd hope so. Hey.
Yeah.
And so, like, tell us how that started. Like, how did the whole like resurrection of Armchair come up? Like, was it 604 reaching out to you guys, or how did that start?
Yeah. So Jonathan sent us an email, and he sort of said like he always felt like 604 should have had more success with us. And, they're coming up on the 20th anniversary of the label, or I think that might have been a couple years ago, but at least his 20th anniversary of our Killing the Romance record is this year, because it came out in 2005. And he's just like, I want to sort of do some stuff with you, maybe re-release some old music. We ended up doing a vinyl of Killing the Romance with some B-side songs and some live songs. And the other thing is, as a band, since I'm a music producer, like most of my career, I've produced bands and had my studio. We always demoed lots of songs for our records. So we started going through this sort of archive of all these demos we made. And I think we found like over 20 songs that were unreleased songs that never made it on our records. So we decided to do this B-sides album. Yeah. So we kind of picked through our favorite ones and the ones that were sort of produced the best. And we kind of settled on, I think, 8 songs that will be, and it's actually coming out tomorrow. It'll be on Spotify. So the Lost Tapes is the EP. So
And you had to like go through and be like, why did we not release this? What were we thinking?
Yeah. I mean, it's funny too. Some of those songs are a few of our favorite songs we wrote, but I think sometimes it's just like, maybe they don't fit on the record, stylistically, or, you got to cut something at some point, and everybody's got an opinion. And sometimes it's going to come down to the producer's choice or the label's choice. And there was one of my favorite songs is this I Break, I Bleed song. And it's definitely like a lot heavier than the last record, Starting Today. So it didn't really fit, but I still feel like that song could have been a pretty good single. But, now we get to release it. So it's nice that people get to hear it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, you get to. Is there anything that you look at and you're like, "What were we thinking back in the day?" Or are you still really into all of all of the tunes?
I mean, it's funny because I don't really listen to that kind of music anymore. Like, I'm probably a little bit more into sort of electronic music and stuff like that now. So, again, it's that sort of identity thing. It's like but yeah, as far as what were we thinking, I don't know. There's a couple songs that are like, not obviously they're not even going to be on this B-sides record, but I would say they all still are worth having a listen. They were all good enough to record a demo of. So
and there's that nostalgia factor, I guess, too, right? Like it brings you back to those times, and you can kind of think of that mind space that you're in at the time too. So that must be cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty wild. We've been going through all these photo archives, and we found some live videos and stuff, and it is really like a time capsule of a whole bunch of stuff from way back. And actually, a funny thing on that is we had the conversation about doing promo photos for this new stuff, and it was sort of like, well, like we're all kind of like, we're a lot older now. Like, do we really want to have a promo photo of us now? It's kind of funny when you see a band that you haven't seen in a long time and you're like, oh geez, they're kind of old now. So we just use the old photos.
And so
they're not gonna know.
As somebody that played your music, probably one of the first people to ever play Armchair Cynics, I would think, working at CFox, like I felt that there was like, it was so damn close with, Bang, Coal Mine. I think Fox even started to play Sharks Below the Surface. Like, it was really, as far as like a Canadian broadcaster playing your music, regular rotation, you'd hear your band as much as you would hear Foo Fighters. Did you guys feel the same back then? Like you were so damn close?
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of comes down to the fact that, what you're mentioning is sort of our success in Western Canada. And we just never really broke through to the other side of Canada. And I think just having, Western Canadian success feels pretty good, but like, I think it's really hard to break into that market. And I think sort of one of the turning points for our band was sort of trying to get into that market and then having the pressure to tour when, we weren't really making enough money as a band to support ourselves just from music. So we still had jobs back at home. At least most of us did. I, had a pretty flexible schedule because I was just producing bands. But, I still like, going on the road back then, you're not making a lot of money, even if you appear to be doing well by, getting played on CFox a lot or whatever. Yeah. So we just, it was hard for us to really take the plunge into the like year of touring or whatever. I think that maybe would have gotten some of those singles, more placements over in Eastern side.
Mm-hmm. And with hindsight, would there be anything that you would have changed back in the early 2000s?
It's hard to say. I mean, I think some of what the label was doing in terms of the promotional side, and they were working with Universal on that too. I mean, again, it's like Jonathan felt like the label could have done more, or maybe, the band could have had more success. I don't know where along the way, those things didn't line up, but it's just hard to be a band. It's hard to be a successful band, and I still think of us as a band that I'm still proud of what we did. We still did well for what it was. And we've got this show coming up, this reunion show in Vic, and it's looking like it's going to be sold out. So, it's exciting. It's kind of cool to kind of rehash that. So,
yeah. For sure. Take us back to the very beginning, though, a little bit, and tell us how did this band come together? How did you guys meet up, and what made you start a band?
The band existed for a year or so before I joined, and then Ryan, our drummer, joined at the same time. And they had a little bit of local success at that point, and I was 20 years old then. Now I'm 43, so quite a while back. Yeah. And I knew they were looking for a guitar player, and I thought they were a band with a lot of potential. And I just showed up to their jam one night and tried playing some songs with them. And, Ken, the singer, and I just kind of hit it off right away and started writing together pretty quickly because I write as well. So I think one of the first songs we wrote together was Surprise Ending, which ended up being kind of a local single. I don't know if it got much play on CFox, but it definitely, it's a fan favorite for sure.
It got lots of play,
yeah. Yeah, and I think around that time the drummer was I think he was sort of feeling like the band was sort of moving a little past what he sort of wanted to do with music. So, Ryan came in and was just like a powerhouse rock drummer. And I remember thinking when I joined the band too, I was like, yeah, this band's pretty good, but it'd be good if they had like a really great drummer. And then Ryan just came along. So yeah, it all kind of came together pretty fast. Yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else in sort of the early stages. I think that's kind of the gist of kind of how I got into the band. And I think as far as the end of the band, it was around 2009, 2010. So it was about sort of an 8-year-ish run that I had with the band, which is a pretty big chunk of my 20s happened there.
Right.
So,
and how
yeah.
important is that initial connection? You said like you hit it off right away. Is it important to feel that instant connection, or is it something that you can work on in developing a songwriting or a musical relationship like that?
I think it has to be kind of instant. I think it's kind of, again, sort of, relatable to relationships, and like every band and musical partnership is a relationship, and there kind of has to be a little bit of a spark.
Right.
And I think just sort of where Ken's strengths were where my weaknesses were, and maybe sort of a little bit vice versa. So I don't think he had written a lot with the person before. I think it was more like he was the primary songwriter of the band that just brought in songs,
Right.
and then the other guys kind of wrote their parts around it. So, and I think a lot of the best and my favorite bands, ever, are sort of bands that you can really tell there's a lot of collaborative contribution going around, all around. I'm probably mentioned Radiohead is one of those bands for sure.
Mm-hmm. And how old were you when you first started truly taking music serious?
Oh, I was pretty young. Yeah. I mean, my dad was into music and sort of played some instruments a little bit, but he wasn't like a true hardcore musician. But he had a guitar, he had a few things around. So I sort of started messing around with guitar when I was maybe about 10, and then I started playing drums around that time too. So sort of, it was always my thing to like, I think I always wonder if I just chosen one instrument, if I would be like an absolute shredder on guitar, for example. But I decided to sort of distribute my skills amongst multiple instruments. So I'd rather be a Swiss Army knife than Swiss Army knife rather than a sledgehammer or something.
Yeah, well, fair enough. And they all, of course, they have to do with time. So regardless of the instrument you're playing, you still got to know time.
Yeah. Totally.
And what was the music like in your house then as a kid?
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty lucky that my dad was into, good rock records and stuff like that. So I remember, picking through the Led Zeppelin and Jimi Hendrix and the Police and stuff like that. I kind of figured out what was cool pretty fast.
It's pretty obvious. And, you're like,
it's pretty obvious what
as much as I like this Black Sabbath.
Yeah. And my dad was a big vinyl guy, so there was definitely a lot of choices. And yeah, I mean, in terms of just as like a young kid, just getting into music, and then, years after that, probably, I guess, the sort of whole grunge thing happened when I was 11 or so, 10 or 11. And, I just got right into Nirvana and all that Seattle scene and all of those bands. And, that was probably a pretty big influence on my early years of playing music. And I think that's kind of lucky too, because I think if I was a few years older, I would have been sort of affected by that sort of 80s thing that was happening, like the 80s hair metal stuff. I think maybe it's nice to sort of have just dodged that a little bit.
Yeah.
That kind of, I can kind of relate in the sense that, so I'm 50. So when grunge came about, I was, in my later teens, and I'm the person you just described. I was like, what is this? Where is my Motley Crue? Where is my Poison? I was kind of one of those people upset about but Todd, you loved grunge, right?
Oh, I love, I mean, that's the thing. Not only did I love grunge, but I loved all of that Tesla and Rat and Motley Crue and all that stuff. Like, I've just always been like, give me the stuff that rocks, right? So it's, for me, I love grunge. I picked it up right away, for sure.
Yeah, because it is interesting, because grunge is sort of the anti of that sort of whole thing, right? It's the sort of I don't give a shit kind of, like the clothing and the hair, like, it all just kind of shifted. But yeah, I mean, it'd be great if you guys could post some pictures of you around that time.
Oh, the mullet, I don't think would fit in the picture.
I want to see. I want to see the hairdos.
Sweetmullet.com.
Yeah.
And so what was your first concert that you went to, Adam?
First concert, I went to a lot of local band shows when I was pretty young, and I started playing in bands when I was pretty young. So, I got some experience playing at shows. I'm trying to think of like the first like big concert. I actually kind of drawing a blank. I don't think it was anything super cool though. It wasn't mention worthy.
Yeah.
But I definitely went to a lot of local shows and sort of got the feel of, that whole the local scene was pretty strong, I think, when I was a teenager and whatnot.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there was this band called Funkus that Nick Blasco, who organizes the Rifflandia Festival, he was a member of that band.
Oh, okay.
And Kuba Ohms was another guy that was in a band back in those days called Out of Nowhere. So all of these bands, like a lot of these people, I've kind of seen them have really, successful careers, starting from that little scene that I used to go watch shows when I was just a young guy getting beat up in the mosh pit.
Nice.
Right. Can you tell us a little bit? Let's shift a little bit to your songwriting process. Can you tell us a little bit about what inspires you and how you get started working on a project? And is it individual, or do you always collaborate with somebody else in the band?
Yeah, I think Ken, our singer, will sometimes have a song that he brings in that is fairly complete, and as the primary lyric writer, he would have the sort of the theme of the song or whatever. I'm more of a music writer and a melody writer, and I will occasionally have like a chorus line or some lyric, but I think as a singer, Ken would probably prefer to sort of tell his story and sort of do his thing. So I wouldn't really mess with the lyrics too much, but yeah. And then, I mean, you kind of get into that question area where is like, does a drum part justify songwriting sometimes? I mean, there's definitely drum parts that I can think of that, kind of make the song sometimes, but, that tends to be, I don't know, we always came to a fair, decision as far as splits on when it came to like the royalties and stuff like
Mhm.
that, to make sure everybody felt like we were, kind of getting, because the thing is like, if everybody's working just as hard in a band to, in those initial stages, like when you actually have to tour and you have to, you just have to work really hard. Like, what does it matter if you're making 50% or, 80% or 20%? It's like, you should probably just all be splitting it just to get things moving along.
Well, that's a
Right.
real
So
way to
hopefully that
actually
kind of
break
answers
up a
you.
band too, right? Like if you
Oh, for
feel like,
sure.
I'm eating mac and cheese over here and you're like ripping, you know, prime rib steak
Filet
Yeah.
sandwiches
mignon.
every night, like you'd be pissed off eventually, right?
Yeah. I think I heard that was what happened to that band Age of Electric. I think that they broke up sort of based on a song getting picked up. I think it was Big Shiny Tunes or something like
Mm.
that. And I don't know if I should be talking about that. I don't know. But I heard something about this where there was a little bit of bad blood within the band
Oh,
when, some money was finally going to be made. And then it was like, you know, these other guys were
Mm,
like, screw that. Like, we've all been working just as hard. So,
right. I'm sure it happens all the
yeah.
time, especially, in the younger stages of life when you don't have the life experience to kind of guide you through those times, right? Like it must be hard to
Yeah.
always get along.
Yeah, I mean, I think like there were some times where a couple members of my band, I was pretty upset with them. I had some, and
Hmm.
that's like I said earlier, that stuff is all just kind of water under the bridge now.
yeah.
So,
Hmm. Hmm.
any sort of little things that I held on to or, kind of, yeah, any little resentments or anything, I feel like it's just immediately, and, part of the process of just doing these shows again and rehearsing together again, it's been kind of nice to just let all that stuff go.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And like, if you were to think back and there was truly a rock star moment in your life, what is it?
Oh, I think the biggest crowd we ever played to was at the Calgary Stampede one year. We were opening for Our Lady
Mm.
Peace, and I think it was around 12,000 people.
Nice.
So, yeah, that felt pretty rock star.
For sure.
There
Yeah.
was one festival I played at one year, and this was actually I was playing with a different artist, but the backstage had like a masseuse, and they had way more elaborate stuff than any other backstage I've ever had. So having a massage backstage included, that felt pretty rock star
That's
too.
pretty cool.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah,
Take two of
yeah,
those if there's
Yeah.
time permitting. Like,
yeah. Those would probably be a couple of the top ones. Yeah. I
sure.
mean, yeah. It's not always like, but it's not always like the size of the crowd. It's like, I guess I would say some of the Armchair Cynics shows we did that were, our own local sold out show. you know, which may have only been like 600 people or something, but like everybody is there to see you, and just the energy and the feeling of like when you play the singles and just, you know, the vibe of the crowd, like that's a pretty amazing feeling for sure.
Sometimes those smaller venues, like you say, the more intimate ones are when you can connect with the audience, I would think, on like a deeper or more personal level. And does that kind of like ramp you up even more, knowing that or feeling that, or is it better with the big
Yeah,
audience in the stadium kind of thing?
I think just, yeah, the more, yeah, intimate you are with the audience, the better the feeling is. And even if it's just a small venue with 50 people and on an acoustic show, but if everybody's attention is right on what's happening, and, you know, then that's like, people are really there to hear music and appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, it's always
Yeah,
the
I
smaller
definitely
shows
feel
that
that.
you fully remember like years later. It's not like, oh, I saw this great show at Rogers. You're like, no, I saw this amazing
Yeah.
show. Like I saw Seether at the
Yeah.
Media Club in Vancouver. It holds, I don't know,
Oh yeah.
150 people. Freaking
Yeah.
Seether. I saw Seether at
Yeah.
150 seater, right? Like insane.
That's
Yeah.
wild. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and that's sort of how I try to follow music now. I mean, you know, I try to find bands on their way up and see them, you know, when I can see them at a small venue, because sometimes when they get to that arena stadium level, it's just the shows, yeah, sure, like aesthetically, you know, it's more of a production, but like you just don't have that connection to them in the same way. You're just another person in this massive audience. And you
Yeah.
know, yeah, there's been some really cool bands I've seen at small venues over the years for sure. Like I remember, do you remember the band People in
Yeah.
Planes? They were a wicked band from they were from Wales, and they played at this small little club in Victoria called Evolution that was like, I don't know, they like, probably like fit like 100 people in there, and they were one of my favorite bands around that time. And there's just, you know, every once in a while you just get lucky and you catch one of those bands
Yeah.
at those early stages. You get to talk
Yeah.
about it and brag about it that you saw them first.
Well,
Yeah,
Sure.
I was going to ask, you mentioned some musicians that you're listening to currently, and you said you're kind of into more electronica now. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah.
And what are some artists that you're into? Like, who's on your playlist?
Now I'm on the
mhm.
spot.
Yeah, there you
Yeah, right.
go.
Well,
Back
I
at
think for me, I guess I'll kind of explain why my tastes kind of started to gravitate towards music with more electronic production. And it's not that I don't love the sort of classic drums, bass, guitar, kind of like classic rock band kind of instrumentation, but I just feel like you can just get, it's, I guess it's kind of like an oil painting versus a mixed media painting. Like, you know, mixed media, you kind of get to start adding samples and different elements of things from different places, or like a collage or something, you know. So to me, I think it's not that I got tired of straight up rock music, but I started to want to hear a little bit more depth in terms of where things could go sonically. And yeah, so I sort of started creating more electronic music, and started a group a few years back now, but kind of a Fantagram-esque kind of group. They're a great
Mm.
band, obviously. But yeah, other things that I'm into right now, I would probably say Emmett Fenn is a favorite of mine. Uh, oh, speaking of bands coming to Canada, that there's a great band called Melt that is playing. I know they're playing in Victoria and Vancouver, and they're from the UK. Really cool band. Yeah, and it's just any time that you get that sort of, I don't know, for me it's like an alt rock band or an indie rock band that has some electronic elements, it just allows for the sound to be expanded, you know, a little bit more. So yeah, I don't know, I answered a couple different things there, so hopefully
It's
that
okay.
kind of
It's
works for
okay.
you.
How about sports, bud? Were you super disappointed with the Blue Jays losing the World Series? Did you give
I
it?
I actually, I hate to say it, but I actually was like super not, like it was not on my radar what was going on with the Blue Jays until like the last couple days, and then I was like,
Mm,
everybody was just going crazy for it,
Yeah.
and I was
yeah.
like, I feel like jumping on this bandwagon right now is going to be somehow like like I don't feel worthy. So yeah,
You
but
didn't earn it,
yeah,
right? You didn't earn it.
no, I didn't earn it. Yeah, it's funny. A friend of mine and I went into this bar where it was like in the final moments of the last game, and the energy in there was just nuts. Like it was like everybody was just glued to the screens, and we were just like, this is super intense right now. So I guess over in Toronto, you guys must be all still kind of mourning the whole thing.
Well, I'm in Northern Ontario. I'm in Sudbury. I don't know if you know where that is, but it's about 400 kilometers north of Toronto. And I'm kind of like you. I was like, I didn't even know what was happening with the Blue Jays until about, 2 weeks close to the end. So I'm ashamed to admit it, but I wasn't really following it either. So there we have it.
Yeah, sorry, Todd. Yeah, I wish I could give you some.
Not at all. Just more curious. Okay, so what do you binge watch then? What are you binge watching?
What do I binge watch? I mean, yeah, this is. I'm a big fantasy nerd. Honestly, I really liked. I just finished watching Foundation. That's on Apple. That's just a great show. The third season was awesome. Geez, what else?
Did you watch Severance? I know it's not fantasy. It's
Severance
sci-fi.
is one that I started that and I thought it was great, and then for some reason I didn't get back to it. But a lot of my friends like always talked about that show being super great. So yeah,
it's a good one.
That's a good one for sure. Yeah.
Are you into movies, or are you more of like a series guy, or are you even a TV guy at all?
Yeah, I would say I'm kind of a series guy. Yeah, and actually, I guess if you guys want to get into the personal side, I'll kind of tell you for the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, I've been sort of slightly more out of the music industry because my hobby sort of became my business, which for a long time I've always kept these saltwater aquariums, and I got really good at growing coral. And I eventually sort of started selling coral through a website that I have, and
Really?
it sort of gradually has become my full-time business, where I basically aquaculture these pieces of coral and I ship them around Canada. And I actually have a little podcast
live?
I do where we it is live, yeah. So it's all like very, very sensitive organisms, and so I do spend a lot of time in that space. That's kind of my specialty outside of music, but it's actually been really nice because music having been the thing that was my primary income and took up 90% of my awake time, all of a sudden I could be like a lot more picky about what I say yes or no to when it comes to musical opportunities. And just doing this choral thing is like, it's very flexible. I just kind of work from home, I ship from home, and I can noodle around with music whenever I want. I can pick up gigs whenever I want, but it has to be a hell yes. So it's turned into a hell yes only policy for me.
Right.
Fair enough.
That's a good policy, though.
That's
yeah.
As soon as you hit 40, like, come on, it's got to be a hell yeah or nothing else. That's it.
Yeah, I think so.
Adam, what's the website?
Do you still?
What's the website?
Oh, the website is fraggarage.ca.
Fraggarage.ca.
Yeah, because they're choral fragments, so we call them frags. Yeah, and then I have my podcast is called the Beyond the Reef podcast.
Beyond the Reef.
Probably won't be super interesting to non-reefers, but
And it's not this reefer.
Do you still do any?
Not this reefer, guys.
Yeah, no, it's a different kind of reefer for sure.
We might be interested. Do you still do any producing?
Yeah. I do a little bit, and again, it's a hell yes only policy. And I think also it's nice to be like I'll work with people that I just really want to do a song with or something, and not even want to charge them anything. It's just like I just want to do stuff that I want to work on, like that's going to be enjoyable. Having ran a commercial downtown studio in Victoria for, I don't know, over 10 years. And, some of those days, like as much as people can be like, oh, it's really cool that you're a music producer and studio owner for a living, like, that must be amazing. And it's like, I mean, sometimes I got to just polish turds all day. That's basically what I'm doing. So
Adam, thank you so much for joining us today. It was a real pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, it's been super fun.
Good luck with the release tomorrow. Yeah. Looking forward to hearing it.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for having me, guys. It's been super, super fun. And and I need those 80s photos of you guys.
Yeah, it's coming.
Oh, yeah.
Say hi to the rest of the guys for us, okay?